Comic Book Land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself. Bing, ding, bing, ding.
My name is Cloudus Maximus, the one and only.
Cloudus Maximus, you have a bandana around your face, your eyes for some reason. Are you gonna do this whole podcast blind? Just use your other senses. Let them heighten. Feel the power. I was gonna do the whole Speed Force speech. Feel the ground underneath you. We are here. We are in rare form today because we are here to chop it up about the latest season of Daredevil to hit Netflix. That's season 3. We binged it all weekend. But before we do that, let's do the small talk. So I missed you, brother. I haven't seen you in quite some time.
Bochinche, as what we like to say in Spanish.
Look at that. We got Spanish speaking going on the Major Issues Podcast. But yeah, man, how have you been? How have you been? How do you feel about navigating this entire season? I mean, this was 13 episodes, shorter than Iron Fist.
First and foremost, Daredevil was the first, and out of all of the Netflix Marvel series, and also my favorite. So I've just been tunnel vision, just neck deep in this all weekend. Yeah. All weekend.
It's you say it's the first, and it is. It was also the first to get to 3 seasons, and I mean, we can break the news here, but 2 of those shows of the Netflix family of Marvel shows will not be getting third seasons. Luke Cage canceled now. Iron Fist, we covered last week, was canceled as well.
Boy, Danny Rand.
And on my way home, I found out that Jessica Jones was renewed for season 3.
Did not know that. Wow, that is...
Now, is that a Heroes for Hire thing? Is that just telling us that we know that those are going to stay in their avenue, and maybe they're going to merge what didn't get renewed?
That'll be cool. That'll be that'll be justice.
I liked Luke Cage season 2.
I did too.
And I think
I didn't finish it. I had still two episodes left. Just about.
These shows, while all taking place in Manhattan for the most part,
Upper Manhattan,
they all find a way to find a distinct portion of Manhattan to tell their stories in, because where Danny Rand hangs out does not look like where Luke Cage hangs out, which doesn't look like where Matt Murdock and Jessica Jones kind of in the same neighborhood.
It's controlled,
but the cultures are different, the people are different, how people act is way different, and so I always found it important that all of these shows exist, but now we're down to,
and especially being from the city, you be able to,
and you want all the because when you're from the city, you know how many different faces it has, and so you want to see all its faces be showcased. But I mean, we just gotta hope that they continue with Heroes for Hire. I thought that Iron Fist got better. I thought that Luke Cage got better, more focused. I think that they are finding their place with this.
Their season 3 will be Heroes for Hire.
I guess together, right? I guess I'll have to do it together. But I know you are spoiler agnostic, so you try to stay on the outs when it comes to news and gossip.
Yes,
when it comes to some of this stuff.
I like to take it all in. I like to be the noob.
But I also know that you are a huge Spider-Man fan, so you had to have seen the new suit.
Yes,
that's going around. Pictures of Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
I was blind. I was blind to it at first because it was making its rounds on social media everywhere. Yeah. Until he showed up on, what was it?
Jimmy Kimmel.
The Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes, that's his boy.
And then I was like, okay, I gotta take a look, and it's red and black.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like my red and black a lot. So. That's very nice.
I definitely dug it. I know the questions are obviously there. How is there a part 2? How does he have a new suit? When did he, not become dust? But all that will be answered in the fullness of time. But are you excited for it?
Very.
For Homecoming?
Very.
Far From Home? Homecoming Far From Home.
Spider-Man. It's that they have the red and black suit, and I believe there's another suit going around too. But the red and black suit seems to be the one that's gotten more of the burn lately.
Yeah, I mean this year you can't top Spider-Man, right? Between his performance in Infinity War, the video game that came out that
Mhm.
you basically binged as well.
Oh yeah.
And now, news Far From Home is around the corner. So
Mhm.
is Captain Marvel. So is Aquaman. So is, we about to get hit by this wave of superhero movies. And then everything on the TV front has been amazing. I know we shared off air how we felt about the Flash coming back in some of those episodes.
Oh yeah, and I've been
That's been
been on
pretty
that.
good. That seems like a return to form. So there's a lot to be getting excited about. Even though there's some cancellations here and there, I'm still waiting for my Flash movie. Whenever you want to get a director on that, can you please let me know? Because that was on the docket for 2019.
Hint, hint.
I think that was on the docket for 2019.
Yeah, but I think it also got pushed back again because he's doing
the
fantastic
Cyborg movie. No,
he's doing Fantastic Beasts. Another
And where the
Fantastic
Beasts
Beasts.
are? Where the Beasts be?
I think that got pushed back to 2021.
They're making Fantastic Beats by Dre.
Wow.
Is that a thing?
Maybe.
Write that down. Somebody
Ezra
write that down.
Miller.
Ezra Miller. Yeah, well, he'll be in that, so he'll be fine as long as he's getting Mr. Miller is getting a paycheck. Last on a little bit of the small talk news, it seems like a certain symbiote or a certain movie about a symbiote might be on track.
I heard about that.
Beating the gross, the
Yeah.
domestic gross for Justice League. Venom seems to be picking up steam. A lot of people, I guess, initially heard the bad reviews and probably were a little bit squeamish about going out there and seeing the film. But people have seen the film. You, sir, have seen it twice.
I've seen it twice. Yes.
We reviewed it right here as part of the Major Issues podcast. So go back a couple episodes and hear us talk all kinds of crazy about the Venom film. But yeah, man, picking up steam, picking up fans, and whereas Justice League's fandom dropped off, it seems like Venom's is sticking around. And if it does, what does that mean? What does that mean?
I
Who
don't
we
know, but
pray
if
to
it's
now?
if it's as good as it is now without Spider-Man, I'm fine with that, man.
Right.
That
But how
is-
does it, what do you
that
mean?
is-
But how does that feel with Justice League? How does that line up there with those guys?
I don't know. I mean, I
When a second half of a
I
villain.
think I think for being as kind of dark as it was, I think it was just as fun.
Yeah.
I think they found the right balance right off the bat with that. So I'm very happy and excited about that. And I'll be waiting for the next one to come.
Matter of fact, DC supposedly is greenlighting a Superman show.
Yeah.
So maybe they are just gonna put all their chips into television as far as the connected universe,
I can see that.
and then let their movies be one-off, unconnected stuff like the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker stuff. So who knows? But Sony, like Warner Brothers is looking at Sony, like.
Sony getting their act together, man. All right.
Well, I guess that's true. Yes, Sony is finally getting their act together. They are being redeemed. It's a full redemption for Sony, at least at this point. Hopefully, they don't trip and fall forward. But that is my segue, because when it comes to redemption, nobody wanted redemption more than my man Matt Murdock.
Matthew.
It's time to get
Matt Murdock.
fully immersed in all things Daredevil Season 3. But like we like to do here, we'll do a little bit of a spoiler-free review for those that aren't finished with the series as well as those who didn't start yet. Because, I mean, people are busy. I get it. But
And it came out on Friday.
Yes. We just, as part of the Major Issues team, like to chew these things up and regurgitate them to our fans as quickly as possible so that whenever you guys are done with it, the episode is there and you're not waiting for us. We're waiting for you. And trust me, there's always room on the other side of the table for the fans of the Major Issues podcast. And we got some feedback from some fans that we'll be reading later on. But spoiler free, Claudius Maximus, how did you feel about Daredevil Season 3?
It took a lot of it took me back to how I felt about the first season.
Okay.
So because Fisk was heavy, it was Fisk heavy in the first season.
Yes, it was, definitely.
So it was in the third, the one that we just finished watching. Well, the one that we finished binging. Lots of what ifs for Matt. That's one thing I was really interested in. What if he kills him? What if he doesn't?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because nobody wanted Fisk out of jail, dude.
Yeah. So the idea that, we saw in a lot of the promotional material that Fisk would be seemingly out of jail. We didn't know how or when or why, and that he would be, the big bad of this season, a return to form, like you said, from season 1. But last we saw of Matt Murdock, he was basically destroyed or blown up in the Midland Circle explosion. Underneath the building from the defenders. So a lot of us didn't know how he was going to get back into the suit or, into the show, if any. But spoiler free, I think that this is the best paced season of all the seasons. I'm talking about Luke Cage, Defenders, Iron Fist season 1 and 2,
right.
Jessica Jones, Luke Cage.
It's had a great spread.
Yeah. But I never got exhausted. I never rolled my eyes and was like, can we just hurry this part on quick? Because I've got 13 episodes to get through or to binge or whatever. So it was really a much easier task to take this entire story on. So I think they did way, way better with their pacing and their spreading of how they could do these stories and these episodes, this episodic epic that is Daredevil. I would like to say that they cut a lot of the fat. Majority of the cast in this...
Is that a Kingpin joke? Because he's husky.
Majority of the cast in this is great.
Yes.
Every new member added to this has something to do, has reason,
and I like
has
that they didn't
motive.
have to bring back some of the other characters to carry some of the weight and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's great.
They've done such a good job building, no pun intended, the universe or the neighborhood that you know who's gonna be the lawyer,
like
and you
that,
know
the
who's gonna be you know who's gonna be the lawyer, you know who's gonna be at the bar when you're connecting these dots because you almost live in that world and you know who the DA is, for instance, and they followed that up all the way from season 1, and Officer Mahoney returns, and Officer Mahoney was basically all
right, and we seen him. He wasn't even he was just a regular.
He was Joe Schmo when he started.
Joe Schmo when he started, yeah, for real, man.
So we really got to see this build. If you've enjoyed Daredevil thus far, and I would even say if you fell off a little bit of Daredevil season 2, I think that Daredevil season 3 is gonna be your show, your season. I really think that they did a tremendous job focusing back on what I think makes the show so good, so great, which is I think it's the realism, I think it's the brutality, and I think it's the overall nature of a man trying his damnedest to do the best he can with what he has, and he don't really have much. So.
And fighting his inner demons, because Matt Murdock's been through a lot.
Is this your favorite Netflix season?
Oof.
I know.
I love the whole series, man. Season 1 through 3, dude, is crazy because they introduced a lot of people, especially with Punisher.
Yeah, that's true.
Season 2 of Daredevil is the reason why Punisher got his.
Yeah.
His
season.
His
I didn't even mention him. He's going hard, and he's getting a season 2 as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they've already greenlit season 2 for him. So, yeah. So you say you love it all. It's just a love fest.
Yeah, it's hard to even pinpoint, man, because I didn't even think because at the time I didn't even think I was interested to see how they were gonna do, because he links up with Spidey when it comes to Kingpin too and stuff like that. So I really love one of my favorite things when it comes to certain characters and when they're involved with other characters too is the workaround.
Yeah, how they're going to, especially when you're a Spider-Man fan, so that means that you literally are all about the workaround, because when you see a Spider-Man film, he can't interact with those people, and so they have to cut around. So yeah, same thing with Daredevil. You're not getting off the spot. I know you try to get off the spot with the ranking of the various seasons,
right.
But now I'm gonna ask you to rank the seasons of Daredevil.
God
forbid the Grim Reaper comes knocking at the Netflix door and says Daredevil is next on the chopping block and it is canceled, and you had to name or rank the seasons. What do you think?
To be honest, I would go 1, 3, and 2.
1, 3, 2.
1, 3, 2.
I think I'd go 3, 1, 2.
3, 1, 2.
I think I'd go 3, 1.
I like that. That was gonna be my second. I was fighting with that for a couple of seconds first. Because 1, 3, 2. Now you got me. Well, you said yours was 3, 1.
Mine is 3, 1, 2.
3, 1, 2. Mine is 1, 3, 2.
Yeah.
Only because I like the whole Kingpin thing.
Yeah.
So I like to keep that close together.
Yes.
Because season 2 is so different.
Yeah, I dig it.
And it's not like picking the least favorite child in a sense.
Right.
I love them all.
Exactly. I put you on the spot too, so I get it. But that will do it as far as spoiler free is concerned. Now we get to go into the nitty gritty. I have not on purpose, I've been doing this whenever I cover shows with members of the Major Issues podcast. We do not talk about anything for the most part that we've seen. To leave it all on the table for you guys, our most genuine reactions to some of the stuff that we've seen in here. So, first thing I want to say is it me or did it all but ignore season 2?
It did,
And
I'm not mad at that.
Right.
Because I feel like season 2 was its own beast. You have Frank Castle up in it.
Elektra, the Hand, Resurrection,
which I want to touch on very quickly. Matt, you could have just grabbed some of the dragon bones, and you would have
was mad dragon
and you
bones.
would have been fine after Midland Circle.
And if you can't find the dragon bones, you gotta go to my boy Iron Fist because he's hanging out with all kinds of
you gotta go to the cave.
You know what I'm saying? The Cave of Wonders. Go get your dragon bones, B. They were right there underneath Midland Circle. No Elektra this season. Were you surprised by that? Were you?
I wasn't, but I wasn't surprised that he missed her very much. So there's that.
He kind of missed her. He mentions her like once, and then he kind of just is like once somebody's like, oh yeah, nobody survived that record.
Yeah, that was his like his start for his downward spiral.
Mind you, this is the same man who saw that same woman die and be brought back to life. He's all like, oh, there's nobody. Yeah, we're good. That was one of the biggest things that I felt from here was that I was not very interested in a lot of the myth of the Hand or the legend of the Hand because so much of season 1 of Daredevil was grounded that when you start going into magic and stuff like that, it felt a little bit different. It just something felt different in a way that Luke Cage didn't with the Bushmaster herb stuff. And I guess because maybe I believe a little bit in Eastern medicine and herb, herbs and spices or whatever. But like this whole like blood transfusion and what's the Hand trying to do in the ledger and all that kind of stuff from season 2, it was not my bag. I loved the chemistry between Elektra and Matt, but hanging their hat on the entire love story angle I wasn't a fan of.
Okay.
And then Defenders became half of a Daredevil story. For the most part.
Because of Elektra too.
Because of Stick.
Yeah.
Because of Elektra. Because of the Hand. So I'm glad they got that all out of their system. And the Hand's coming back. They're hand in hand with the Daredevil mythos. So the Hand is definitely gonna come back. Another overall thought on the season is wow, they brought back the brutality, bro.
Yeah, dude. They brought back the Hands.
Just the pure brutality and not quick cuts. You know, we watch a lot of CW shows and there's a lot of stuntmen on there. So they're quick cutting all crazy, shaky cam, all that stuff. Some of these fights, especially like that fight in inside the prison, inside the nurse's office, in the hallway.
Yeah, that nurse office fight was bananas. The hallway, then it came back into the nurse office. Oh, that was.
And I find what it is about those scenes, especially that it harkens back to the hallway fight and all that kind of stuff. What I find about those scenes that interests me the most is the fact that our hero is not indestructible. He's getting hurt.
Yeah, he's getting tired.
Hurt bad.
Yeah.
He's tripping up. He's out of breath. 80% of this show, Matt Murdock is covered in blood.
Yep.
He's either bleeding from his mouth or he's
not
bleeding.
fully recovered. So Matt's not 100%.
No,
at all throughout this whole thing.
No, which I remember distinctively was a trait of Frank Castle in season 2. He was always had a black eye or a broken nose or cuts on his face. He was always beat to hell. But they definitely brought back the brutality here. A lot of Christian themes like redemption, paying for sin, and being born again, which is comic book stuff because Daredevil Born Again. They had a lot of callbacks to that. I remember talking on this podcast about them putting Matt Murdock in a cab and sealing the door shut and driving it off a cliff, driving into the ocean. They do that here. There's a scene very reminiscent of the comics, I believe, of Daredevil holding Karen Page, and we see something very similar in front of the cross in the church with Daredevil and Karen Page, just the roles reversed. But to get deeper into this idea of of the Christian themes or the themes of Christianity and the arcs that people go through, I thought it would be kind of cool to not exactly go over episode by episode like we've done sometimes here, but go through character arcs and how characters have gone through these different stages in a segment I like to call the 3 stages of Hell's Kitchen.
Ooh.
Ain't you like that?
That's very nice.
The 3 stages of Hell's Kitchen. Let's start with our main man, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, Daredevil, returning. How you like our leading man in this?
Back and better than ever, dude.
Think so?
Oh man, dude.
Oh, you know what had me? When he was first boxing and they brought the person in for him to practice boxing with.
I was like,
and he's blind,
man.
so he's like,
and
he's not really has his hands.
Kind of really deaf too at the time.
The way he's working his hands was way different than a regular boxer would because they would be using their eyes to know where they got to put them. He would do this like touching out thing, like where he's trying to figure out where he was. Like, I thought that was
kind of half grab.
Considering that the man isn't really blind. I was saying they're like he's killing it. He's killing the whole like I'm looking but I'm not looking thing.
Yeah, those random like where he just looks around into nothing because he is blind. Yeah, I think he pulls that off pretty freaking good.
He was killing.
And I've seen a lot of blind people in my day, you know. So
yeah, we find out that he has survived the Midland Circle explosion. He was tossed into a river, saved by Sister Maggie and Father Lantum. I had to look at the spelling because I always say it wrong. Lantum. And Father Lantum we've seen throughout the Daredevil series. This is the priest in which he confesses his sins to on multiple occasions. And so he decides he's just going to throw out Matt Murdock. Everyone thinks Matt Murdock is dead, so screw it. Matt Murdock is dead or gone or whatever. I'm just going to rehab in the church basement. And so broken and bruised and beaten, you know, it looks like Matt hopes to pay for his sins with his own life at certain points, right? At one point, when busting up a kidnapping attempt, 2 thugs get the better of him, and he's like, "Take me out." He
throws the pipe at him for them to just, I guess, whack him.
And he says something like, "Forgive me," or something right before it happens.
The cops show up, I think.
How did you feel about this suicidal Matt Murdock? This guy who feels like he doesn't deserve his life.
He was stressed out, man. He just didn't want to live.
It felt like he didn't deserve his life. He didn't deserve his friends.
Electra was gone. He couldn't tell his friends he was alive because, you know, they were really upset at him. They kind of didn't want to be his friends in a sense.
Well, another thing about that was like
he
didn't want to tell his friends he was alive because in many ways Matt Murdock wasn't alive. And if he wasn't going to go to bars and hang out at Chipotle and, you know, and take an Uber, what kind of friendship would he be having with these people? He would be like, "Oh, Matt, I'm alive, but I'm in this basement and I'm training to, you know, eradicate the criminal enterprise of Hell's Kitchen." The showrunner on the show says that Matt's basically angry with God. He's angry at the fact that he had risked his life to do God's work, and he's questioning whether or not he was a fool. And we see that even stated in the show when they talk about Job and this idea that, you know, Job was
a pussy.
Well, he said Job. That's what he said. He said Job's a pussy. And, you know, for those who are uninitiated and don't know the biblical story of Job, really quickly, Job was a follower of God. And when the devil said that he could coerce Job or just basically take Job from God's favor, God said, "Go ahead and try. But as long as his soul remains intact, you can take everything away from him and his allegiance won't change." And so they take his family away from him. They take his wife away from him. They spread these lesions all over his body. Painful welts appear all over his body. Like I said, everything was taken from him. Livestock, land, health, you know, and he never once cursed God. He believed that everything happens for a reason, and in God's grace, he would be rewarded for his loyalty because they were trying to test him in that moment. And so where in the Bible, Job is rewarded for sticking with God through all the stuff that he had endured in his life, Matt feels like, I'm not going to be, I don't want to be that guy. You know, if he's playing me, kind of screw him. In many ways, he says, like, I've seen the true face of God and I'm not impressed. Or like, you know, he would say these blasphemous things. And Matt is a Bible thumping Christian.
Matt was just not with it, man.
It's just that frustration you feel at the end of the day. I think we've all been at that point at the end of our rope where we go, if this is all planned, why did this plan suck? And why is the part about me, my plan, sucking right now? You understand? Is this part of the plan? And so it really breaks his faith. His body is literally broken, right? And it breaks his faith. How did you feel about Matt's road to recovery? His church rehab, if you will. First starting by doing some push-ups. I thought it was gnarly.
Yeah,
I thought it was gnarly when he cleared his nasal passage.
I was like, it's funny because blood. I was watching that with that episode with my wife, and she and I was like, what's that for? She's like, oh, it's for your nose. And then he said,
and he just
I was like, oh.
Chunks of blood out of his nose and mouth, which almost cleared his hearing a bit. And
that's when he started. I was like, oh, we back, Matt? Are we back? And he started doing the push-ups, hitting the bag.
It seemed like one of his eardrums was ruptured. Mm-hmm. And so without that, it was almost like being, losing an eye when you have sight. He already doesn't have sight. Yeah. You're going to take his hearing too. He was miserable. My man was miserable. And there's also this idea of mea culpa, this idea that you have to pay for your sins. You have to acknowledge that you've done wrong. In the Bible it says, I confess to the Almighty and to you, my brothers and sisters, that I have greatly sinned in my thoughts and in my words, in what I've done and in what I've failed to do, through my most grievous fault. Therefore I ask Blessed Mary, ever Virgin, all the angels and saints, and to you, my brothers and sisters, to pray for me to the Lord our God. And I brought that up because in this, Daredevil is looking for some sort of redemption. He's looking. He wants to apologize. Mm-hmm. You understand? For scorning God, but also he wants to be punished if there is a punishment to be had. Like if all of this negativity that's coming down in my life is to punish me, just straight up punish me, end me. I know what I've done is wrong, and through my fault, mea culpa. It's my fault. Just end it already. And This was just regular Matt. This was just regular. I got blown up in Midland Circle, and and I'm just trying to get back on the ball, Matt Murdock. And then he finds out the Kingpin is out, and he obsesses. It almost offends him. It's affront to everything that he's done so far in Hell's Kitchen that the white whale, Moby Dick is out. He's free again. I captured him. I put him away, and he's free again. I thought that his obsession, the idea that that there's still something to do, also gave him life. Mm-hmm. Like if Fisk is gone and still in jail, so I'm like, well, I guess Hell's Kitchen can take care of itself.
I don't have to be Daredevil anymore, kind
of. And even when he chooses to be Daredevil now, he chooses to do so in the OG all black. How do you feel about that?
All black with the rope around his hands.
Yeah, the Muay Thai.
Muay
Thai ropes.
We don't know what happened to his suit.
Right. Well, we do know what happened to his suit. It got blown up in the.
They did kind of get rid of it.
Get charred. Yeah. And remember, it's not just a suit. He had like boots and gloves and a helmet. Like there's a whole thing. And but no, back to basics. Back to ripping up fabric and just getting to work. I missed it a little bit. I didn't think I missed it.
Yeah,
but there's something so gritty.
I didn't realize how much I missed it until I've seen it in and after a couple of times.
Yeah,
I was like, damn. And then when he threw on the rope onto his hands, I was like, yeah, there we go.
There's something so gritty. There's something so scary about him just popping up on a fire escape, covered in all black. And he's supposed to be the hero. He's supposed to be the hero of Hell's Kitchen, but he is dedicated. He's willing to lie to people. He's willing to steal.
Yep. He's willing wallet.
He's willing to break into places. He's willing to hurt people, all to get Fisk. And ultimately, he's told, like, bro, there's a way to do this the right way. And so then I feel like we get to the second phase of Matt Murdock, which is, after he's persuaded to do things the right way, he turns into, like, lawyer Matt Murdock. And he's like, I got this. I'm a great lawyer. Well, let's do this. Karen doesn't really need Daredevil. She needs Matt Murdock.
Everybody
Foggy.
needs Matt Murdock.
Foggy doesn't really need Daredevil right now. He needs Matt Murdock. And Agent Nadeem, which we'll get to, definitely needs Matt Murdock. So, boom, we'll just use legal tactics and testimony and the rule of law to put Fisk away.
The system.
But the system doesn't work, at least for guys like Fisk.
Because it works for Fisk.
Yes, and I think that's when you get to the final stage of Matt Murdock / Daredevil, because once he realizes that Fisk is too powerful for the legal system, he becomes Daredevil throughout. Chills with the way they ended the second to last episode. He gets up, grabs his coat. Foggy goes, Matt, and he goes, no, we tried it your way. It's time to try mine. And he left,
storms out.
And I went, let's go.
Yep. It's showtime.
I got goosebumps right now talking about it because
we did try Foggy's way,
and he did it. He was fine with it
all the way.
And they tried Karen's way with the bulletin,
and then it didn't
and
work.
Jasper Evans. Jasper Evans was gonna sit there and he was gonna testify. He was gonna let everybody know that he faked the shanking on Fisk, and that's the whole reason why he was able to escape.
And Foggy didn't even have to question. He knew where Matt was going too. So that was we all knew where Matt was going.
Because as it started to come out that they weren't going to be able to get him legally, Matt's like tapping his foot.
We thought it.
It's in his head. He's
Matt
like,
said it. No, we tried it your way. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go suit up.
I dug it because even in that full hatred, even in that full rage of we did everything the right way, it's time to do things my way. I want to say the wrong way, but try to do things a different way. It's time to do things my way. Even in that full height of rage, he chooses justice instead of vengeance at the last moment. And I think in doing that, he made both sides of his life whole. The Daredevil side and the Matt Murdock side can shake hands and say, you can take them down, but we'll never go down with them.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something like that to Fisk. At one point, he says, like, you're not going to take me down with you, or you're not going to drag me down, or my soul, or any of that kind of stuff down. Were you surprised by his restraint at the last moment when he had a chance?
I was surprised. It made me feel happy for Matt. You know what I mean?
What would you do? Do you think you would have the restraint at that moment?
Shoot, because
it's hard to say.
It is hard to say, but to see it, you gotta kind of be able to tell, because watching it, you can see Fisk was kind of setting him up.
Yeah,
because he wanted Matt to go that far.
Yeah,
and the fact that Matt could identify it at that moment and tell himself to kind of chill, because he knew he already won.
Do you think in any way that was the other side of the coin to the same scene we were talking about earlier, where Daredevil's on his knees and he's like, "Get me"? Was Kingpin in that moment like, "You keep poking at me, my wife is here.
Right.
I've lost, I've lost face in front of her. I've lost blood in front of her. That's the only thing in my life that means anything. And if you're gonna take that away from me, just kill me. Like, just take me. You think that was like a moment of weakness for Fisk, or do you think he was trying to egg him on?
I'm gonna say a little bit, but more so egg him on, because Matt lost Elektra.
Yeah. He lost a lot of his life, yeah.
Presumably she's dead again.
Right.
I guess. Vanessa's standing right there, guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if he does go to jail, or if Matt did decide to kill him, she was still gonna be alive.
Yeah.
So I think he was trying to goad him into trying to kill him. But to say that, into him trying to goad him to kill him, it'd changed Matt forever.
Do you think Fisk knew that? And he was willing to take that deal?
Definitely. Because he already knew that once he did that, Fisk would have won.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit taken aback with the threat to the wife.
Right.
But I basically stand up and applauded when he just took off his mask and was like, "This is who I am, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. Nothing.
Because this is what I'm gonna do."
You understand?
Yep.
And he basically says, "If you ever divulge my secret identity, I will find your wife, and she will go to jail for the crimes that she's committed, because she has committed some crimes, and we'll get to that in a bit." But I feel like, once both of his sides become whole, he finally believes he's worthy of having a regular life, and he's sitting there hanging with Karen and Foggy and joking, and it's like, and they even say Matt's back. He's like, kind of back. He's like still trying to get back in there, but he's now worthy of his friends' love and support, something I felt like he wasn't before.
Yeah.
how did you feel about the startling revelation that one of the people who saved him, Sister Maggie, was his mother?
Um, I'm a little mark for when it comes to like comic book accuracy.
Okay,
So that was kind of a thing for the Born Again comic.
definitely.
So when I popped too because of the way he found out.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the like maybe like an episode or two before that, he would say he'd come up to the church and he'd listen to everybody's prayers.
Oh yes.
So her praying and then him hearing her from all the way downstairs was kind of real.
I did not.
Kind of real something.
It's funny because she's doing it right, and I'm like,
I didn't even think Matt was home.
and then Matt just moves a little bit, and I'm like,
yeah,
he hears
and I was
everything.
Like, yes. I was like, oh no, Matt.
I was like, he hears everything.
Mommy, Matt, your mommy's upstairs.
Oh my god, that thing! Oh, it was hilarious.
But then I said too, I was like, damn. But then the father knew.
Oh yeah, he knew the whole time. Battling Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Battling Jack.
Dad knew, and what's the priest's name again?
Father Lantum.
Lantum. There you go. I didn't want to butcher his
The
last
Green
name.
Lantum said.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Lantum
he
knew, and
he knew,
and Matt's dad knew.
And like
the
I
whole
said
time.
again, I wasn't 100% sure where they took that in the comic, because it's told that it's his mother. You don't get no flashbacks of the mother and the father in the comic,
Right.
at least at that point,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So I really liked
I like how
seeing
they
her,
added that in.
showing
Yeah,
them
that was
meet
cool.
and all that kind of stuff there. And they also breached a pretty kind of serious subject, the idea of postpartum depression. This is an actual factual thing that happens where new moms get postpartum depression, where they actually get like these real bad mood swings and crying spells and anxiety, difficulty sleeping, and sometimes that severe, it can be so severe that it goes into full-blown depression, and they could even have like animosity towards the baby for it. And that's exactly what happened with Maggie. Nothing was wrong with Maggie. Nothing was wrong with the baby. But because of the postpartum depression, she ended up almost blaming the baby, and then Battling Jack blames her for not being caring around the baby. The baby's just laying on the
bed
on the
as
corner
you
of the
see,
bed
and then he
crying,
just comes home,
and he's not. She has no connection. There's no bond, and that's an actual factual thing. When they showed it, I was like, oh, that's postpartum depression. That's kind of big. That's huge. People have spoken out about, like, I had my baby and I didn't care about it. Like, eventually, feelings subside and things change. But, I was like, wow, this is big. And then I kind of took some points off, because then she outright says it. She goes, oh, yeah, postpartum is a thing where, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, I liked it more when it was just there and people had to kind of be like, wow, is that a
grab for it?
Yeah, grab for it. But you gotta educate, so I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad that they went that route with it. I thought she was amazing. It was Joanne Whaley, the actress who played Sister Maggie. I thought she was great.
Yeah, I thought she was great too.
I thought all the time she wanted to be a smart ass to Matt was good, because she's a smart ass to Matt in the comics.
I was just about to say that too.
She's a smart ass to Matt in the
Was she?
comics. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was kind of like, she wasn't like quippy. She was like, cut that out. Stop being a punk and stuff like that. Like, she was real hard in the comics. She was hard here, but she was almost kind of jokey too. And she never really gave Matt crap. The only time that she backed down or looked anything less than strong was when Matt found out about her being the mother. Do you believe that she would have eventually told Matt?
Oh man, I want to say after, if anything, after he would have after he would have, I guess, made a full recovery. But being that he kind of really didn't throughout the whole show, I guess he had to find out by mistake.
No, I mean, it's always one of those cases, right? You hold a secret on, you say, I'm gonna tell him. Then you don't tell him. Then you go, I was right. Tomorrow was the day I was gonna tell him.
Which kind of leads me to believe where she kind of, throughout the thing, I played with the idea that she kind of like told him without telling him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When she did the prayer, I think at that time she knew he could kind of hear a lot of stuff because of him being blind.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
But
And we
I
hear
can't-
that he was a troublesome
Yeah,
kid.
but I don't have anything else to lead me to believe that she knew he would hear her.
Yeah.
So I'll nix that right away.
She goes on to say that he was kind of a troublesome kid.
Everybody said he was a troublesome
That
kid.
he was the one who said the most Hail Marys to atone for the sins that he committed as a kid. And another thing that said throughout is that he was always very angry. That Matt always had this anger, and he channels it. Now he finally has a channel through Daredevil, and I guess it was easy for him to unload Matt Murdock and just be pure rage, pure Daredevil, right? Screw it. Who's gonna judge me if all I do is go to church and go out and beat people up? You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's in my life close enough to judge me, so I'm pushing everybody away. I thought that was kind of cool. Father Lansom was cool. He was a cool guy. Lost his life. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Paul Lansom. We'll get there.
He held down Matt Murdock a lot.
I just wanted to close out the church section of the cast real quick. So Father Lansom, Mr. Peter McRobbie, returning, and I think that he was a great father figure. And at one point, he is illegally gambling in a pool hall. In a pool hall. So yeah, I do like the depiction of Christians in this,
Right?
Because if you want to consider Maggie, father, and
Were they
Matt,
Christian or were they Catholic?
Catholics, sorry,
Okay.
Catholics in this, they are hardline to their beliefs, but there is wiggle room.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? They do understand that not everything is black and white, and I feel like Catholicism gets painted in this brush of like everything is severe and everything, the wrath of all.
I also like the fact that he was, I guess one of the few that knew who he was just by him coming to confess and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he did that throughout. He did that from the first episode that we saw of the season. I mean, of the series.
Mhm.
Sorry, he was constantly there was full transparency between Daredevil and Matt Murdock when it came to his religion. It wasn't like Matt Murdock is a Catholic and Daredevil is an atheist. You understand?
Right.
Like Daredevil, because he is Matt Murdock, is also a Catholic, which means he also has to stand by the belief that he cannot be judge, jury, and executioner. Something that we see carries him all the way to the end of this series or season when he chooses not to take Fisk's life. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, my big man, the big dog, Vincent D'Onofrio, returning full-time as Wilson Fisk / Kingpin. And they say Kingpin. And they say Kingpin,
Yes, they do.
Kingpin.
We don't say his name in here. We say something else. We use
Kingpin.
Use code name.
Yeah, his code name, Kingpin.
Kingpin.
Only his boys call him Kingpin. He was like, only his. That was kind of crazy. We'll get to that in a second. But the idea that Agent Naheem will get brought into a room of all Fisk FBI agents.
That was
It's like,
crazy. I was like,
damn.
he said it too. He was like, Fisk got something on all of you? I was like, yeah, man.
But Fisk, last we saw of him, he was in federal prison for breaking a lot of laws and killing a lot of people. But this time he decides to be a cooperative fugitive. He's hoping to leverage his criminal knowledge to repent for the things he's done, but mostly to keep his little girlfriend safe. Little Vanessa.
Matt did visit him in season 2, though, right?
He did, and threatened
him, yeah.
He visited him in season 2 to ask him about something. Maybe the blacksmith, all that kind of Punisher stuff.
Right.
And then he said,
he got his face slammed into the table.
He said, for the price of postage, I can have your girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And then homeboy flipped out and beat the hell out of him. And he even repraised. He's like, didn't you say for the price of postage? I love how Vincent D'Onofrio plays up this Kingpin. Yeah, he's willing to cooperate. I'm willing to give up all my criminal boys to make sure that my girlfriend's going to be safe. And just when you think that he may not be on the side of good, because of the first person he gives up, he is shanked in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're scared that he won't be able to continue to provide the FBI with more information, they're like, well, might as well relocate him. We'll put him in a hotel. But it'll be a jail hotel. It will be a jail hotel, and he still have to wear jail clothes, and he's still gonna have cameras, and he's still gonna get his 3 meals a day.
It's
but it's
jail
still gonna
food.
be it's jail food, and it's jail hotel all the time, all jail hotel all the time. So did you already know in the beginning of this that he would have a grander scheme, or did you
I
think that
felt
he
it.
was gonna
I felt that.
eventually?
I didn't know what it was. I could feel it in the air every time they already started. Somebody every time from the FBI kind of came onto his side or his team. It was like, and then I found out he staged the stabbing in
I didn't
prison.
think he
That was
staged the
crazy.
stabbing. That was pretty good too. Yeah, and he could have killed, quote unquote, the guy who shanked him,
Mhm.
and he didn't. He had a moment in time there.
And that's what that threw in my head a lot. I was like, why didn't you fucking kill him?
And he just throw the weight down.
Drop
and
the weight on him.
literally, right? Just drop the weight on him. Yeah, it was too good to be true to me. The fact that he was so cooperative and had so many high level criminals to give up. I was waiting for the other foot to drop. And so we get past the first stage of Fisk and these 3 stages of Hell's Kitchen to the second, because he goes from cooperative fugitive to criminal mastermind, playing the FBI and others like puppets on a string, mercilessly, a lot of S's in there, killing anyone and everyone who stands in his way. He gets everything he wants by eliminating the competition. Anyone in his way, right? Gone. So quick, without a moment's notice. And we really get to see him be the kid with the magnifying glass with the ants, literally just zoning in on people's weaknesses and picking at it,
He's
picking
the
at it.
ultimate chess player, man.
So
Crazy.
ultimate chess player, and I like that you say that because, he at one point he even goes out of his way to frame Daredevil and kill Karen Page. Like there's nobody too high profile for him to try to get at or kill. Like literally, he has a list, and you'll all be gone if that's what he wants.
He could reach your friend's mailman if he wanted to. That's bananas, dude.
Yeah, and his reach was definitely crazy. We see the cameras that he has everywhere. He's literally surveilling all of Hell's
I was a little
Kitchen.
fan of like the cameras in his
danger room.
his room and stuff. Every
Yeah.
time like his security cameras went off, you could hear them go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we find out later that he bought the hotel through shady means. He was able to purchase the hotel prior to being sent there as a prison. And little by little, you start to look, and there's a couch, and there's some plants,
Getting
and there's
more
some paintings.
comfortable.
Now he's getting dressed. He's wearing regular clothes, suits. Call back to the all-white suit. I wanted the little scarf thing, in the middle of or the cane,
the cane.
but we don't get it. But I did like the all-white, and I think that the all-white was also thematic. This idea that he was the White Knight, right? I have now descended. The evil is driven away from me, and I'm now here to help the FBI and Hell's Kitchen.
Psych!
I think at one point, Agent Naheem says, "The city's safer because of Wilson Fisk tonight when we lock up the first guy."
Yep.
And I think he honestly believed that. So we go from cooperative fugitive to criminal mastermind to lastly an anxious puppy. By the last 2 episodes, he was just basically at the hands and feet of Vanessa.
It's the power of love, man.
Power of love. He is willing to do anything for happily ever after. Anything this man is. He's been waiting for this moment since he was arrested in season 1, which, if you want to count time, it's probably 2 years ago. Roughly.
Yeah.
Around 2 years ago. So this was somebody if you watch season 1, you will get a better appreciation of realizing how much difficulty it was for him to get the confidence to have her and then lose her. And now
because because of his arc and stuff, you're led to believe she's like the only female who he's like basically come in contact with.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And had the courage to be like, I kind of want that, and I'm not gonna kill people to get it. I want her to want me.
Yeah, and
which
he's
is
actually the only female he's ever courted.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
So he is willing to give her everything, and even in that moment, she's like, "I'm with you, but I'm not with you." I thought it was so well played when you could see the pain on his face every time she wasn't 100%.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah, woo,
discomfort.
yeah.
Yeah, he thought
He was just like,
at some point I thought he was gonna think it was him. You know what I mean?
I think throughout he thought it was him.
You know,
Until he asked the question,
dude,
know
there
what?
was a point in that I thought he was like, because I had a sense that she was with it, but not kind of with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I started to feel like he saw that. So
Yeah.
for like a quick 2 minutes or so, I kind of thought he was gonna get rid of her.
I was scared that they were going to tease a romance between her and Dex.
They did kind of.
And
I was kind of
like,
crazy
oh,
too. There,
do not.
I was like, yeah,
do not go
dude.
down
And I
that
said,
road.
yeah, they'll send that man over the edge, bro.
You know, but ultimately, Vanessa's confesses that the reason why she feels so away is because of how shady Fisk's operation is. You know, it's a situation in which they could be having dinner and then somebody needs to be killed, so he needs to leave the room to, you know, handle that, or somebody needs to be bribed, or somebody needs to get their fingers cut off, and he has to be like, "Honey, 1 second," and walk away and deal with it.
I like the fact because it was like that in season 1.
Yes.
Because you didn't know.
Oh, I remember the door. I remember the car door. Not here.
In season 1, you kind of don't know how down she is.
Yeah.
And because she's so absent in season 3, towards the end, she comes through. You kind of forget until she kind of starts to let him know what's wrong and stuff.
Yeah, because even though she's not here, she has to know who Wilson Fisk is.
Yes.
You know, and the idea that the reason why she's not here is because he's paying for vacations in Spain
and vacations
in
would
France.
think by the time she comes back, you would think she'd be upset of the kind of things that he's doing, or not the kind of things that he's doing, mainly like the way he's handling things.
Right.
And it's not. It's more like,
she's
why
not a
aren't
part
you?
of it.
Yeah, exactly. Why aren't you including me in this and stuff like that?
And
so,
as two people in happy relationships, that is a thing.
Yeah, that is a thing.
That is a thing. You know, when you are together, you are thoroughly together. And I think at one point she says that I was half with you, which means I wasn't all the way with you, which means I might as well have not been with you. And I didn't know how he was going to take this, you know, this idea. But, you know, after we kind of realize when she comes back, it is the bow is put on the box, and we see that almost this entire season is for her. This entire thing. He's now free. He has clothes. He has power. He has a house. He has a painting.
Now.
He has all this. She comes. He is set. That's all he needs is her. And he is set. So the idea that this one final piece is the one thing that's kind of not cooperating right now, you know, broke his heart. And so in a moment of true love, like you say, right? Fisk exposes his entire criminal organization.
And she sits in the chair, bro.
He hoped in hopes of winning her over. And, you know, he was transparent. And, yeah, she sits in the chair. And she ultimately, you know, makes the call.
Seconds makes the call. Like
to murder what she considers a loose end, when all Fisk was going to do was... What was he going to do?
Because he forgot how down she was. Oh... Watch out!
And this is a regular.
Watch out, Nadine.
This was a art curator. She worked at an art gallery. You know what I'm saying? Like she was walking around, like fine art, and all of a sudden, in a moment's notice, she's like, "Dad, kill him." And so things like that, ideas like that, the idea that he could just pull back the curtain on the whole criminal organization and let her call the shots, I feel like is the beginning of his undoing. And after an attempt on his life by two different people, he agrees to go to prison and keep Matt Murdock's identity safe, so Vanessa could not be placated in those crimes. That the fact that she called for the death of Agent Nadim. In his final moments, he's on his knees begging for death, and then ultimately begging for Vanessa's safety, as he did in the very beginning. In the first episode, it was, wait, what do you mean she could be arrested? Like, no. Whatever you have to do, don't get it there. And the last note I have for Wilson Fisk's 3 stages of hell goes right into your point of him being the chess master. The king is knocked down by threatening the queen. They threatened that queen, and it was checkmate. The king just knocked down, and Matt won the game of chess.
I want to know if she goes away or if she stays in the city now.
Yeah, and like Matt has to leave that building, right? Does he just wave? He's like, "Hey, I see you." I mean, the cops were called. Mahoney shows up. Does he? Yeah, it is Mahoney shows up.
Mahoney's the one that actually puts Fisk into the cop car.
Yeah, Mahoney does show up because you hear Dex on the floor going, "I can't move." We'll get to him in a second.
Yeah, because his back is broken.
Yeah.
Fisk broke his back on the corner of the wall.
We'll get there. But
Jesus Christ.
What are you? Any last words on Fisk? Final. Moments, quotes, questions.
Fisk was Fisk reminded me of how crazy he was in season 1.
Yeah.
But for season 3, he was more calculating.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He was a little bit less physical, which I'm glad they kind of held off on that.
Yeah.
So that way, when he did get a chance to throw the hands
or throw people,
he broke a man's back. He broke Point Dexter's back against the wall.
Did. He broke a man's back. He broke a man through a wall. He grabbed Matt Murdock and shoved him through that wall. I liked that a lot of his reach wasn't spoken directly by him. It was spoken in fear by other people.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't get it. You understand? Like, he's got me.
Like
he's got her. And those guys are definitely got.
Leverage this, leverage that.
And he was. My favorite moment with Fisk is his pep talk, his first pep talk to Dex. And we'll get to that when we get to Dex.
Mm-hmm.
But you could just see, like, the devil on the shoulder. You know? You could just see him just milking the trauma, the childhood trauma and all that for everything it's worth. And ultimately, even saying like that whole old chestnut, right? Like, we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah,
the old chestnut of
yeah,
I was a kid, I was a monster.
I can relate, so we could be friends.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment because I want to assume that these are the conversations that are happening with everyone he cohorts or co-ops. So great. I'm so thankful that he's back. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about the ping ponging of prison and not prison. Like, does he just come back for season 4?
I mean, that's how it is in the comics.
I feel like he never went to jail in the comics. I feel like he was always just there. Like, other people went to jail and then he went to like Bermuda or something like that.
I mean, he could go to jail and not like never make it, I guess, and get broken out.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna have somebody gunning for him.
I mean, for the most part, the Kingpin for me, I know, is from the Spider-Man series. So every time he did go to jail, he actually didn't like really make it to jail. I guess.
Yeah. And he almost doesn't in here, but we'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to a newbie. Jay Ali as Agent Rahul Ray Nadeem, new guy to the series. Hardworking family man. You know, Ray tries to do his best at his job, and when money gets tight, he questions why he hasn't been promoted or given a raise, and they kind of like, you got bad credit.
Credit is trash, bro.
And this is a real thing.
Yeah.
I was in the military, and you don't get like a secret clearance if your credit's bad. The idea is that you could be leveraged for money.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of sort of true. And so we find out that he's only in debt because he helped his sister battle cancer.
Yeah.
Like, no
so
one got
damn, he can't. His credit is trash, but that we know why his credit is trash. But can't you guys give it anyway? You know what I mean?
It hurt when he stood up to Hatley, his boss.
Right.
I was like kind of there for him because you could see it in his voice and you can see the embarrassment in his face when he talks to his wife about not having money. Or his kids.
What I like about him a lot throughout the thing is like his mannerisms.
Yeah.
Like you can tell like he was stressed out and stuff like that, nervous, scared, or even angry. Like some things you can see him twisting his wedding band and stuff like that.
Yes, I distinctively remember him talking to somebody and turning his
when he's on the phone. Trying to talk to his son or his
that's
wife.
what he has in his mind. He has his wife in his mind.
Tap on the wall and stuff like that because he is nervous and stuff.
Yeah.
He's scared. So yeah, I thought that was cool. His psychology with everything was pretty damn spot on. So I really like that.
So no money and no promotion and no raise. He ends up kind of feeling helpless, but he eventually sees a gold mine because Wilson Fisk is ready to tell on some top criminals in Hell's Kitchen. If he's able to use Fisk's testimony to put some of the big bads of Hell's Kitchen away, not only will that serve better for Hell's Kitchen, but it's kind of sort of going to raise his profile as an agent, and maybe.
It's kind of like that he wants to make them give him his promotion. In a
At
sense,
that
you know
point,
what I mean?
how could they not?
Right.
At that point, it's like I've gotten everyone, and guess what? As stated, he only speak to me. He only wants to talk to me. There's a moment when you look back at this series that you're gonna be like, damn, and that's the moment where it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's like I want to say it's Blake Tower, Agent Hatley, him, and some other guy. I think it's just a cop, maybe the chief of police. And they're all like, Wilson Fisk is a monster. We don't want nothing to do with him. And he's the one who says, like I said again, that Wilson.
When they were in the office,
Hell's Kitchen is safer because of Wilson Fisk. It is his testimonial where he says that ultimately gets people to kind of be like, okay, well, not only is Fisk a good idea, like not only is it a good idea to have him sit here and stool on everybody that he worked with, but after the shanking, nobody wants to see Fisk out of prison. But the only way to keep him safe and keep him providing this information is to keep him in a safe house, keep him in that hotel. And Nadeem has to convince everybody to do so. And he kind of also says, like, it's on me. You know, I'm the one talking to him. I'm the one that's getting this information out of him, so it's kind of on me. To him, regardless of all the bad that Fisk has done, the ends justify the means. And so he feels like, in more ways than one, Fisk is helping rather than hurting. And in prison, with all the cameras on you, how much can you hurt? Now, obviously, we know how much you can. But to him, like, you know, at one point, they go bust his balls or something like that. They go to, like, bust Fisk's balls. And
which, by the way, that they were busting his balls a lot, like,
and he never
biting his food. Yeah, they never even flinched.
And I think that had them in his mind.
And looking back, it's just, I was like, oh, you bastard! You already had the wheels turning at that point. Like, whatever, you didn't even care people biting your food or anything because you already know what was he was playing the long game already. Yeah, man.
At one point they go to search his room. Like in the middle of the night.
I think I got kind of a little upset now because I feel so stupid.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, the whole series wraps up so beautifully, so well. My favorite stage, I guess I would say, of Agent Nadeem is his second stage, because after fearing that Kingpin is playing him for a fool, Nadeem has suspicions. His suspicions validated when Hatley basically says Fisk is his boss now.
After killing one of the
when she did that, I was like, what? And she goes, why'd you have to go? Like, why'd you have to bring this to mind?
Yeah, that was crazy. Why you have to bring this to mind? And then the fact that she tried to cover it up by shooting the guy, shooting the homeboy at the table that was with them right in the head, and then she tried to play it off because there was a recording on the table.
She was like, oh no, please don't. And then she
and then the murder weapon, and then I forgot what was the other guy's name.
The Fixer.
The Fixer, there you go. That threw the handgun in the bag and everything, just bagged it up and listened. He was like, you work for Fisk now.
He's all our bosses.
That is it. Like, you're part of us now.
Yeah. There's a moment, I think when Karen's talking to him, they go into Matt Murdock, because this entire time Fisk is trying to frame Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Because if they go and chase the guy with the scarf on his head, they're never gonna figure out that he's doing all the stuff in the behind the scenes, right? So, he's talking to Karen, and Karen is like, he's like, oh, you know all this about that, whatever, and she's like, no, I'm just asking the right questions. Like, she really
before scaring the crap out of her and asking her about Wesley.
Well, she really was the first person to put Nadeem on his ass and kind of say, like, he's playing you.
Yeah, and he
wasn't. And you don't know it, but
he just wasn't with it.
It's right in your hands.
She learned from experience, dude.
But that's the beginning of him being like, maybe,
yeah.
I don't know. And as soon as he kind of feels it, he goes to tell Hatley. And Hatley's like, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I'll guess. Yeah, it is true, by the way. Yes, he's living in his own house that he bought. You drove him to his house, and now we have FBI agents round clock feeding him and letting him do what he has to do.
Slimy bastard.
And so he is so hurt because he only really cares about what his family thinks about him. But he aids and abets Fisk and Dex in multiple crimes and murders. it's in fear of death, but he does. He's standing right there when a lot of people get got. And suspicion starts to rise even harder about Fisk. You really see his soul weigh on him to the point that by the time they get to the church scene, he kind of resigns his own fate. He calls the hit on himself when he helps Daredevil and Karen escape, because in that moment there, he didn't have to. I think he gives Karen up to the NYPD, and thus gets them away from the grips of the FBI. But that is the first of many tips that Agent Nadim is done with Fisk. He eventually gives them to the NYPD Mahoney, and then Mahoney just lets them off. You saw he drove around the block, and then he let them out. He just drove around the block and let them out. He's like, damn, all the FBI be?
For real?
Yeah. Oh, Foggy. No, it was Foggy and Karen that he let out. Because Foggy shows up in the church randomly, and he's like, I'm here to get my client, Karen. And Karen comes out, whatever. But Naheem's final moments are filled with shame and defiance. He mentions that while the news of his helping Fisk might ruin his name, what matters to him the most is what his family thinks. I really liked when Daredevil gave him the 3rd degree right before Blake Tower showed up. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you didn't have to help him. You didn't have to. And he starts yelling at him. And he goes, bro, I thought you were my lawyer. And he's like, well, the only way I'm going to be your lawyer if I find out the truth.
You have to let it out, and that's the same thing you got to tell the jury when you go in. That's it, bro.
And which was broken.
Which is points on Matt, because somebody had to take that out of him.
Yeah.
Out of Nadim, you know what I mean? So
because eventually that line of questioning might break him on the stand. And if it does,
he
then
was too scared for his own good, in a sense.
Right.
I feel so. So to see Matt actually kind of break that out of him and kind of get a little tough with him, that was cool.
And he kind of sort of deserved it.
Lawyer Matt.
He willing to pay for his sins. He accepts the deal of 5 years in jail. At first, because they were talking about immunity. At first, when Blake Tower was like, DA Blake Tower was like, he needs to do 5 years for the murders or whatever, I was all like, come on, bro. He's here. He's testifying. He's going to help us put Fisk away. But the second time that he said it, I was like, he's kind of right. Nadim kind of has to pay for some of this.
Yeah, he does. He can't, that's a lot. That is a lot of bad stuff.
That's
right
how
there.
Tower responded. Mm-hmm. Tower was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?"
It is crazy because I don't know, I kind of still thought Matt could get him off. Matt and Foggy could get him off. Yeah. But I was like,
they were willing to try.
Yeah.
They were willing to say no deal until
Nadim was like, wait, I'll do it.
Because he measured the whole thing.
Son. It was just too heavy.
And it's another thing too, man. Like I said about Fisk and like I said about Daredevil, too much punishment. Just end it. If I just go for 5 years, you're telling me I come out, everything's good? My family's safe? Everything's fine? Fine, then just do that. Because I'm not going to sit here and have this argument over 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 2.5 years. No, whatever. Give me the sentence. I'll pay for my sins. But ultimately, he doesn't do a day in jail because he's killed by Dex. But not before trying to shoot him first.
Yeah. Yeah.
My man,
I give him credit.
He went out,
bro.
Right before he went out, he was.
I mean, to be fair, if I think he'd have got Dex if 3 beers ago.
3 beers ago,
yeah, 3 beers ago.
I feel you. His last recorded testimony is enough to put Fisk away. Mm-hmm. That plus a beating from Daredevil is able to get Fisk back in jail, and he ultimately died. I think he died a flawed hero. Is he a hero in this, or when you rectify yourself, do you just make even?
I say he died trying to redeem himself.
Yeah,
trying to redeem himself and trying to even the score. I want to
slam dunk with that recording though.
Yeah, popped up on everybody's phone.
I was like, "Well, oh, them dancing when the phones were going off."
Crazy. I was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?"
Bananas. Yeah, that was so crazy. Yeah, I really like Nadim's entry or his inclusion into this season as a new character. I'm always about diversity, and so to see that he didn't look like everybody else on the cast, I like that. I
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
did. You know, New York is of all shapes, sizes,
Some
and colors.
sazon.
New York is of all shapes, sizes, and colors. And the thing is, when you peel back the layers, we're literally all the same. We literally want to go to work, make money, make our family proud. All of us.
Yep.
So it wasn't like, oh, I can't relate to him because he's not from my. It wasn't it.
Right.
I felt it all, and I think that shows from the actor, the writers, and everybody involved. Let's talk a little bit about Foggy Nelson.
Foggy Nelson, I want to say, I don't have too much
Nelson's
to say
Meats.
about Foggy. Besides seeing his family and finally getting to see the butcher shop that he actually always used to mention and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because my dad used to own a butcher shop.
And his background does, in a way, inform you on his life.
Right.
The way that his father was a hard working man, and got a trade, started on his own. Nelson,
I don't know. No, Foggy got a little fat in the face, being a big time lawyer and stuff, getting the fat checks. You know what I'm saying?
He's a high paying lawyer.
It's all right. He had
He
had a rough season 1 and 2, so to speak. So
and Defenders, he got Luke Cage out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He's a high paying lawyer when we find Foggy in this season, but his hands are always tied. Like he always seems busy or whatever.
I feel like Foggy's also somewhat of an unsung hero because he's always trying to do the right thing.
Definitely.
So I always got love for Foggy. I feel like everybody needs a Foggy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, it's his background that informs him that his loving family, his relationship with his brother, his relationship with his father. In this season, he's like confused and hurt because when Matt shows up, Matt's all like, "You never saw me, but by the way, Fisk is out and be careful." And
what?
And he's like, "That's exactly what it is.
What?
That's exactly what it is." He's like,
What?
"What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not here." He's like, "Unless I'm hallucinating, you are right here. You are right here." He misses his friends. He used to sit and hang out and get
Not that
paid
he
in
misses
chickens.
His friends, he misses his friends being together, being friends.
Yes.
So I kind of
His
felt
life
bad
was
for Foggy 'cause
better.
of what he wanted.
He's not getting paid in chickens anymore, or oranges. Remember they used to like send him like oranges and be like,
fruit baskets.
Yeah, he's not getting paid in fruit baskets anymore, but he's waking up in the dead of night, dreaming about Matt and very laughing Matt. They called it at one point, or body Matt or whatever. Marcy comes back. Amy Rutberg as Marcy Stahl, and it is Eldon Henson who plays Franklin Foggy Nelson. For some reason, I thought his name was like Fogsworth Nelson or something like that. Franklin Fogsworth Nelson. Fogsworth sounds
like a
legit.
sir to me.
Sounds like somebody who owned it.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Fogsworth. But in missing his friends and in missing, being confused and hurt by Matt, he does also find out that Fisk is out. Fisk is out and about. The shark is loose. And so, just like Matt finds out Fisk is out and is like, I'm going to do what I can in the best of my nature to stop him. In Matt's translation, that is, dress up like Daredevil and punch people in the face. So for Franklin Nelson, Foggy Nelson, he says, well, I'm going to take my lawyering all the way to the top. And he just tries to use the legal system to trip up Fisk and bring light to all the things that he's done. And when that doesn't work, his girl gets the bright idea of, why don't you run for the DA? Was it his girl or was it him? It was his girl, right?
I
was it run for DA?
Or
was it his girl that was like, you could finally win? You could probably win.
I want to say she instigated. She put the bug in his head.
Right.
But it was nice to kind of see them still together.
Yeah.
Foggy Bear.
Yeah, because the first time I saw them, I was like, this is not gonna last. The first time I saw them together, like I think in season 1,
she was kind of stuck up.
She was kind of a jerk, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna last. But Franklin Nelson, and even then, Fisk's reach touches Foggy, because Foggy's brother got a loan from a nefarious bank, and they're gonna break his thumbs.
Move some numbers around.
Red Lion, they're gonna break his thumbs if he didn't pay back the loan. But Foggy ultimately realizes at the 11th hour that it's gonna be a combination of what he thinks is right, which is the law, and what Daredevil thinks is right, which is kind of beating people up. That will eventually put Fisk behind bars, and that's where the man deserves to be. He deserves to be behind bars. he ultimately lets Matt do what he does. But in the same sense, he never stopped doing what he felt was right, which was taking the legal strides. Like I said again, trying to get Jasper Evans to testify, trying to get Blake Tower to acknowledge that the FBI is being used by Wilson Fisk. He, in many ways, tried to embarrass that other DA, but he had a respect for him.
Yeah.
He was just mad that he wasn't listening to what he had to say. Because
I kind of started to feel like he was slowly starting to be in Fisk's pocket in a sense.
that DA,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Foggy did too. And Foggy, although he couldn't prove that he was in Fisk's pockets, he ultimately got the rationale that maybe he didn't want to step on anyone's toes because of the re-election.
That was another one. That was another dude that I was just waiting for the turn.
Yeah,
that was a turn that never came to me.
Yeah,
so I was just like I was weary when it came to him. You know what I mean?
I thought he might, but I thought there was also an equal chance that he didn't. Because ultimately, I think it was just the re-election. He didn't want to step on anybody's toes because of the re-election thing. So, but Foggy does help save the day. He does help, spread Agent Nadim's confession, which basically gets Fisk locked up. So, there is that. Let's talk about the man I cannot wait to talk about. Wilson Bethel in this season plays Benjamin Dex Poindexter. To those uninitiated, he is sort of kind of playing the villain, the very, very notable Daredevil villain of Bullseye, the man with impeccable aim. But he goes through his own little 3 stages of Hell's Kitchen because when we first see him, he's just an FBI agent. Who heroically saved Nadim and Fisk from the Albanians who tried to attack Kingpin's transport. And not only did he save these guys, he saved them by himself with no cover. He just walked
One
up.
shot.
He just walked up and capped everybody once in the head. And,
He also threw a knife or two.
He saved the day. Yeah, he did throw a knife or two. So he just he is looked at the moment as a consummate professional with deadly aim and laser focus. He even throws some jokes to Kingpin. He seems like an alright guy for the most part. But then they start to kind of trickle in this idea that maybe what he did wasn't heroic. They start to the FBI at one point wants to go on a full investigation as to why he gunned down all the Albanians or whatever the way he did and all that stuff. They were kind of making him out to be a villain before he even showed signs of villainy. But yeah, they were trying to investigate him doing all that, right? Like him capping.
Yeah, like his performance, why he used such lethal force.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the first beginnings of this guy might not be all right. And then when he's brought in for that to talk about his evaluation,
stuff like that.
He lets us know that he's fine because he has support. He has a girlfriend. He has a little significant other called Julie. When the Julie shoe drops, when you find out his actual relationship with Julie, how did you feel?
I was like, you eating pizza, but you say you go out with pizza with her.
But she's eating pizza by herself.
But I guess in your head, you think you can go out with pizza with her, which you kind of do, but you kind of go out with pizza to go watch her eat pizza. And it's like from your car, you're watching her eat pizza
and
watching
telescope. And watching her run.
And it's like, watching her run while you run.
And watching her work and all that stuff. Great. We find out in the second stage that Dex has been stalking Julie, and he basically has the need for a role model, a sole role model to follow, so he doesn't spin into madness. Because it was revealed that as a kid, he had impeccable aim, just as he does now, and that made him a great baseball player, especially a pitcher. And during one game, right before he was able to get a perfect game, his baseball coach pulls him out of the game. And I guess in an act of spitefulness, in pure spite, Dex throws the baseball to the temple of his baseball coach, killing him on the spot. It is also revealed that he has a history of using his precise aim for deadly reasons. Kills cats, kills dogs, kills birds, kills anything. He likes to throw rocks at things and watch them die.
Because he wants to.
Yes.
So he says.
This is a slight deviation from his comic book origins, where in the comic books he grew up in the Bronx. He lived there with his brother and his abusive father, and he got a lot of his aiming, precision with aiming by playing around with shotguns and stuff, rifles and stuff, because his brother liked to play around with rifles. But his brother started a fire to try to kill his father, and when things like that happen, Bullseye will end up getting placed in a foster home and becomes a baseball player in high school. They try to get him into the minor leagues. He plays very, very well, but at one point, he's about to. He gets through almost a whole perfect game. They're in the ninth inning. 2 strikes. I want to say 3. Yeah, 2 strikes and 3 outs. And he just gets bored.
Yes, yeah.
He gets bored in the comics, and he requests that his coach pulls him from the game. And when his coach doesn't, you see that the other opponent's team's batter starts to talk a little bit of crap. So Bullseye throws a ball at his head and kills him. So in the comics, during a baseball game, he kills somebody out of spite. In here, he kills his coach out of spite. In the comics, he didn't want to finish. And because he was forced to, he kind of killed somebody. Mm-hmm. In here, he desperately wanted to finish.
He got pulled. And
that's what...
it's kind of cool to fit the story. See, I like a real good workaround. That's kind of perfect.
Well, it also shows his laser focus. At one point, they break into his home. They're like, everything's so neat. Like, he's so, precise with everything.
Right. And the thing is, he closes the door in one of the episodes, and you see the picture fall. Yeah. Well, not fall, but it kind of slants. Like, then he opens the door again and fix it, and then he leaves.
See? He has, because of his enjoyment in taking lives, he found a great career in the military and then in the FBI. But then, in a second that made me gasp, Fisk removes his North Star. Julie gets called in, and she's like, "Oh, did the landlord?"
Yep.
Done.
Right in the hallway. The guys are doing paint work in the hallway. She falls onto the plastic, and it was like a pit crew, dude. Like, she falls, and they waste no time in wrapping her up. That was crazy.
Absolutely bananas. What's also crazy about the Julie thing, and Fisk trying to remove her from the equation and be his new role model, is this idea that one of the things that attracted Dex to Julie was he felt that she was somebody that truly believed in redemption. That because they worked together at a suicide hotline, she truly believed that no one is a monster, no one can go too far, no one deserves death. Mm-hmm. You understand that everyone can turn around. But when hearing her talk about Fisk, she says Fisk is a monster. There is no redemption for him.
Right.
And Dex, in his own head, uses that logic to say, well, I guess then there's no hope for me either. There's no redemption for me. And hearing her say that there's certain people that can't come back from the horrible things that they've done, I think broke him in a way, and Fisk breaks him all the way, saying, I am the other side of you. I've done the things you've done. And in the same way, they say that I can't be better. They say that I can't grow past my mistakes and what I've done as a kid. But what's life if you can't believe in being your true self? So if they say that you're a monster, peel away the layers that you've built on top of yourself to make them happy. And this is something that's also very curious when it comes to like soldiers and like PTSD, this idea that medication is given to soldiers not to help them, but so that the soldiers aren't a problem for society. Right? We give them things to tranquilize them so that we don't got to worry. We don't got to worry about them. But meanwhile, they got to worry about themselves and everything they still have to deal with. Dex had layer and layer and layer of audio therapy, countless tapes of audio therapy and practices and things that he would tell himself and stuff. We saw that he was basically in therapy his entire life because of this, and they all said that there was no cure. He just needs to find a true north, and his true north was Wilson Fisk, who says, I see you for what you truly are, and under me you can be who you truly want to be. I actually saw and wrote down a Bible verse, Isaiah 44:22. I felt like this was Fisk talking to Fisk talking to Dex, aka Bullseye. He says, I've swept away your offenses like a cloud, your sins like the morning mist. Return to me, for I have redeemed you. And so to Fisk, there is no disappointment.
Right.
Those killings that you did, the FBI doesn't like that, and Julie doesn't like that, and your
but that's all right
aim,
with me.
It's all right with me. I
Right.
care about you. You're a hell of a member of this team. And so he gives him the Daredevil suit and allows him to commit countless murders to frame Matt Murdock, especially in the bulletin, the daily bulletin. He goes in there and
Massacre.
massacres countless members of the news team there. And just like I'm telling you, this season was amazing with callbacks. Just like in his backstory, after a failed attempt to kill Karen Page, he's pulled off the job. And in the same, almost the same voice that he was talking to his coach, he tells Fisk, "No, I got it. Trust me, I got it. No, stick me on it." And Fisk's like, "Obviously, this was too much for you. I'm sorry. Whatever. I'm gonna have to." And he's like, "No," and you can see,
in his face,
the
like,
bees are buzzing in his head, and that rage starts to build back up because I've disappointed somebody again. I disappointed my North again. Then who am I? Where do I go? All this kind of stuff. Ultimately, Daredevil, my man Matty Murdock, shows Dex some light because he's like, "Oh, Julie's dead."
And Fisk
killed her.
That,
Fisk killed her. And so he gives her the address to where the bodies are kept. And after he sees that, Dex is out for the kill, and he's out to kill Kingpin. And not only Kingpin, at various points he tries to kill Vanessa. He goes
all in the Daredevil suit.
Yes,
by the way.
in the Daredevil suit. He goes over and massacres a bunch of people at that little wedding thingy dealy. And it gets into a fight with Kingpin, a 3-way fight between Kingpin, Daredevil, and our man Dex, in which Kingpin picks him up for a power slam, runs full into a corner of a wall, cracks his vertebrae, breaks his back, and paralyzes our boy Dex. Last that we see him, we see that they are working on basically his spine. They're looking to infuse his spine with metal, very similar to the adamantium that coats his metal in the comics. They can't do adamantium though, because adamantium, legal reasons and stuff. But they are gonna coat his spine and his bones with metal, which calls back to the comics where his bones are coated with adamantium. So that all seems to be there, and his eyes open. So it seems like we have not seen our last of Bullseye, and maybe it's the case of where Fisk wasn't really Fisk until he came out of prison. Maybe next time we see Mr. Poindexter, he will really be Bullseye, full on Bullseye. And we will see what that has to do with that there. How did you feel about Poindexter, Benjamin Dex Poindexter?
I was a big thing on it. There were times where he did miss a couple shots in certain parts of the season, but the logic and the psychology behind that was pretty spot on. So I got it. And towards the end, when they did give us that little Bullseye Easter egg, and that "I'll be back" kind of thing when he's on the table, I was like, okay, maybe he'll be back even more deadlier next time and stuff like that. So I'm like, but when I did think even more deadlier, I was like, oh, he's never gonna miss. He's not gonna miss nothing.
Watching him become deadly with things like a pen, a stapler. Watching him take down the shingles. The at one point, Matt Murdock and the Deem are in his house, and so he hears somebody in his house. He just takes like the shingles off of a chandelier.
The chandelier right before he goes inside.
That's all he needs.
And when he's chasing him up the fire escape, right?
Oh my gosh! Just watching him be like, nah.
I like how Matt was going up the fire escape and he was trying to block it with the trash can lid.
Yeah.
Bananas. That was crazy, and I thought that was kind of creative on their part too. But to throw all of that, to hang up from the other, to hang out of the fire escape, and then to just like throw that.
Oh, throwing them.
That's gotta be crazy, dude.
Watching Matt hide in the bulletin behind that wall and watching homeboy bounce things off,
ricochet off everything
off the wall to hit him.
Great. I can see him ricochet stuff off of things to hit people all day, dude. I felt like they could have done that all series, but that was the thing that I really wanted them to milk. So I'm glad they didn't do it like that as much as I really wanted to. I mean, it was there, but not as much as I really, really wanted to. It wasn't like OD. So I'm pretty.
I just thought of
glad
something,
about
but I'll
that.
bring it up in a second. Definitely had the most body count, I think, Mr. Dex, at least shown. He was in there and he he killed it. Well, no pun intended and stuff. So I mean, I like Dex. I hope he returns. I hope. Well, first of all, I hope we get a season 2, right? Oh, it's season 3, and yeah, I hope he returns because I mean, he seems to be fine, and he didn't go to jail. He went to the hospital. Like, how does that work? Does he go to jail then after that?
Jail, hospital,
Hospital?
jail.
Oh, like where Matt
He's
was
broke
beating up
back.
and all that?
Jail.
Matt got injected with something in his hand.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, and he still put the hands on these.
As he does. Real quick, we got a little bit deeper into our girl Deborah Ann Wool, aka Karen Page.
I was so glad that they gave us the episode because I'm not really one for like episodes for separate for other characters,
kind of.
but that was pretty good that they actually gave because it was led to believe. Well, if you know about her and the whole Daredevil thing, she's on drugs and stuff like that, right? So I'm glad that she came to New York in a sense to clean up her act in a way.
Yeah.
But
and
also
because
herself, also redeem herself,
and sins and all that stuff.
But we didn't know how crazy it was until we actually saw the episode. She was high, ended up killing her brother in a car crash before shooting him.
Yeah.
So that was bananas. When she shot him, I was like, oh,
when she
shot I was like, you high, but my goodness.
She shot her man's?
Yeah, she shot her brother.
No, she shot her man's.
Was it her man's?
Yeah, because her man's was gonna hit her brother.
I thought it was her brother she shot.
No. So they drive back home, and the brother set the trailer on fire. To the boyfriend's trailer on fire full of the drugs and all that stuff. To be like, get away from my sister. So the brother flips out, starts beating up. The boyfriend flips out, starts beating up on her brother, then goes and gets a billy club, like a.
Oh,
like
you're right.
What you call it?
Because he was pretty busted up in the car anyway.
Yeah,
so.
she was gonna hit him. He was gonna beat him more with a crowbar, and she shot him in the shoulder, and then picked up her brother, tried to drive away from her boyfriend
while she was still.
And
she was high and drunk, actually.
Yes, they were all so her brother dies in that car crash. This was a death that was alluded to us various points in season 1 and 2.
But we didn't know how, and we didn't know that she was the one that killed him.
Right, and even worse in a way. This is almost like the Nadim situation. Even worse in a way, she wasn't blamed. They word in the town was that the brother died on his own. The father said that the police report only said the brother because they were trying to save face with the family, and we hear how much of a joke people took it that Karen would ever leave her small town. She had no qualms. She had no reason to leave her small town, and although she hated being there and she hated her the diner. Her family owned the diner.
Yeah, her dad. Well, the family did own the diner.
We'll find out that her mother died of cancer.
She died of cancer.
Yeah.
She used to run the books, the monies, and whatnots.
Yeah, and so they constantly are teasing this Born Again fall from grace, right? The fall from grace we see in Born Again, where she does a bunch of drugs and then sells out Matt Murdock for a hit of heroin. We never see her truly fall. When she goes to go buy those drugs, I thought we were going to get the whole thing. When she goes to go talk to Jasper Evans and goes to that heroin shoot-up house, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, I thought it was over.
I thought it was a wrap.
Over. I was like, we're going to get the Karen Page. We kind of thought we were going to get all along, and then...
And maybe that's my fault for not giving her enough credit.
And then she went in speaking the lingo and everything, though.
Yeah.
So it was like, damn, here we go.
Ultimately, she was just trying to do exactly what everybody else was trying to do, which was get Wilson Fisk back in jail, but most importantly, her way. And her way was to tell a story, like write a story on it. Even though Ellison, her publisher, kept kind of jerking her around with it, she eventually finds a way to get a one-on-one with Wilson Fisk. Tells Wilson Fisk she killed Wesley.
She's crazy.
And that Wesley didn't suffer as she shot him 7 times, she said.
She's crazy. Her end game was to get hurt. Well, was to get yoked up.
Yeah, they wanted Wilson Fisk to yoke her up.
And then that would have essentially sent him back to jail forever.
Yes. And he would I I didn't like how much Kingpin gave away in that moment. Uh, he lost it.
I mean,
He
I
lost
don't.
it. Like as he
I
was
wouldn't
being
say.
told this,
I mean, I wouldn't say that because it's not like he's speaking with somebody he doesn't have a history with.
and it's not like he's the
so
most
to speak.
emotionally tame
Yeah, that's true
human
too.
being of
But
all time either.
she knew the spots to pick though, and
Because
he
you
didn't
can
know,
visibly see
he
his
didn't
face.
Know, he didn't know how he died either.
Yeah. You can visibly see his face morph the same way you can see his face morph when she's like, "Oh yeah, you killed your mom," and he like picks an eyebrow up. You know, at first he was kind of like just amused by her.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was downright
Upset.
offended. You know, angry with her, and he could have yoked her up, but he didn't. But Karen helped Foggy spread the news on all that, and so that is all G2G. That's all fantastic. On Karen Page, and she didn't do heroin, so that's also good too.
Somebody that's not on here that I dearly missed from this whole series.
Yeah,
That's
what I was thinking.
Turk Barrett,
That's
baby.
what I was thinking, bro. When I just got sad a little while ago.
Barrett, baby.
When I just got sad a little while ago, and I was like, "Oh," it's because I realized that Turk wasn't here.
Turk Barrett is one of my mans. My man's man. Turk Barrett. I'm
Turk breaks,
Barrett, baby.
Turk breaks his probably 4 seasons run of being in all these shows, but we missed you.
I would have. Well, we don't have Homegirl either.
Misty Knight or
no,
Claire Temple.
Claire Temple, but I would have loved to have Turk Barrett, baby. You know?
Without Elektra in this season, does this mean that we go right back to Karen and Matt?
I'm gonna say hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know who's coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
But they got. I was just about to say, but they gotta be ready when they get back. And I don't know if Matt's ready to really choose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty damn great. We spoke about Hatley, Tower, spoke about Mahoney, spoke about Sister Maggie.
I held it down for you, Turk. Don't worry.
Danny Johnson returns as Benjamin Donovan, Will Fisk's lawyer, aka Mariah Dilla's lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be still doing his job and doing his job well.
The checks, man.
I think he gets his suits from Dapper Dan in Harlem or something like that. Remember Dapper Dan? How'd you feel about Sunita? I can't. How'd you feel about Agent Nazim's wife?
Sunita Desfante.
How'd you feel about his wife? I thought she did a good job.
She held it down. I think she held it too down sometimes.
Like the whole "I'm not gonna bring my son to you" thing.
Yeah, but come on, your husband's an FBI agent, girl. You can't be like all up in the Kool-Aid all the time. You know what I'm saying? You gotta at least let the man breathe and let him.
And it's truly balanced that got Fisk arrested. You know, like we were talking about before. Foggy wanted to just do things the right way, and in doing things the right way, half of it, doing things half the right way, he got what he wanted. Another Bible verse there is Ephesians 4:31. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. And also Proverbs 15:18 says, a hot-tempered person stirs up a conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. And that's what Foggy was in this. He was the patient man who did get angry and passionate at various times, but he's able to quell his anger. And ultimately, Daredevil does not kill Kingpin, which speaks to Proverbs 21:3. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. He wondered if he had to sacrifice his life, if truly God was out to get him. And ultimately, he realized his faith. He regained his faith, and he's a better man for it. My man, Daredevil, killing it. Matt Murdock. I'm now going to go into some of the feedback we've received from fans of the Major Issues podcast. And you could always write in at comicbookclique@gmail.com or reach us on our various social media outlets that we will be seeing at the end of this show. But Richard Green III says this series has always been good, and this season did not disappoint. And I think that's something that you agree with, right?
Yes.
This entire series has been kind of on point.
It's hard because I try not to be biased when it comes to all of the series. This is.
Yeah.
But Daredevil has a special place with me because for me he showed up first in the Spider-Man series growing up.
Yeah.
So and he was always cool
Yeah.
to me because
echolocation, bro.
a butt kicking machine that's blind. So I remember saying that when I was a kid. So
yeah.
And to see him get his just due and even more so now, is pretty damn awesome.
That is awesome. Good. Thanks, Richard. Mike Simmons says this series was great. The writing and acting was great, along with so many Easter egg references for comic fans to catch. We had our man Melvin Potter show up. The old Melvin Potter, aka the Gladiator, who built the suits for Daredevil, and he even used his saw blades, which he got from the not got from the comics. He uses it in the comics.
Did you see a shirt? It was the pattern of his whole getup.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, cool. Comic book. They keep hammering home the Easter.
And we finally got to see Betsy.
Yes, Betsy is parole officer who's trying to talk smack to Daredevil. And I was like, you need to calm down, girl. He almost got killed because of that man. Melvin's in jail. He is in jail.
Yeah.
Got locked up.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Melvin. But thanks, Mike. Kendra Maria says this season was phenomenal. The writing was perfect. Everything was sequential. They brought the audience in, hyped them up, made them worried, scared, shocked, and excited. I went through so many emotions watching this season. I knocked over my popcorn, then my drink whenever another plot twist showed face. It grabbed my attention, kept it, and made me want more. So well done. And Kendra, I agree with you. Was there any moment in particular that you remember going, like, your jaw dropping or a twist happening where you were just like, wow?
It's funny because for me, Daredevil is the number one show for that when it comes to all of them with the twists and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of because there's plenty.
Yeah.
One of them was I did see the whole thing with Nadeem coming.
Yeah.
Also, when he goes into the room to go confess, I thought he was gonna get some justice burned there.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be all good, and then once it went sideways, I was just but that you mentioned earlier, homegirl, Julie walking into the building and getting wrapped up after she got shot in the head. Oh my God.
That was big. That was big. I also, I probably should mention the off-screen killing of that old lady who had the painting.
Oh yeah, when Dex went to go, he persuaded.
I talked to her. Got it. She wanted to give it up after I spoke to her.
And then Vanessa would look at the painting and saw the blood in the corner. I was like, number one, Fisk is gonna be pissed that you messed up the painting in a sense. And number two, he's still gonna be pissed that you got the painting.
And he wanted her to have it.
Yeah, he wanted her to have it.
When I think of shocking moments in this, definitely him finding out about his mother. Even though there's something I knew, the way they dropped it.
Oh, also
they did it well.
Matt revealing his identity to Nadeem. That was kind of big. That was kind of real big for me.
Yeah. Well, we've seen in comics some really profound unmaskings. Like Peter Parker saying, "I am Peter Parker" in Civil War and stuff like that. And at times we've seen the Flash do it in the show, whatever. And it really is the biggest moment of faith. It's the biggest way of being like, you want to trust me? Here it is. That you're right. That was definitely a gasping moment. Watching old boy bleed out on the table of mobsters.
Oh, when he got shot in the head, right? And he wasn't with it, and then Fisk jacked up the percentage to 25%.
Everybody's talking, and the blood is still pooling. It's still pooling on the table. I thought that was bananas. A lot of jaw-dropping moments. Karen knocking Dex off the altar in the church, and then you look and Dex is gone. It's like, he's out again. He's out.
I was
again.
hoping he'd still be there though, because for a second you kind of thought he was still gonna be there.
And
because he felt high,
and that whole Daredevil Karen bullseye thing is in church. That's like the whole thing. So I was like, oh my God, I thought that was so good. I did not think the father was gonna die. So that was kind of sad for me. Anytime, like the argument between Fisk and Karen, I thought was beautifully done.
Yeah, the tension was so.
The tension was amazing. The tension between Nadeem and Daredevil, I thought was great. Even when Foggy wants to get up in somebody's face, he can do it. Like his speech in that thing against the almost quasi debate he was having with Tower, in that I thought that was really good. But everybody really brought their A game to this, so I felt like we had to bring our A game in recovering this because there's so many corners, and it's probably still stuff we're forgetting about. But I think I'm ready to put the blindfold on this one. Any last things you want to say in regards to Daredevil season 3? I mean, we haven't as of right now at this moment, and who knows what's gonna happen later on. We have not confirmed there to be a season 4 yet.
Okay.
So
if there is, bring back Turk Barrett, baby.
That's it. You
You
can
know what I'm
you can
saying?
leave Electra a little bit on ice. Bring her back for Defenders 2 or something like that. I keep it brutal, keep it real, keep it a Matt Murdock.
Yeah, don't change a damn thing, man.
Does he take the suit from Dex?
No, because it was mentioned that Fisk had
It made for him,
Homeboy
right?
made for him, so
Yeah.
it wasn't really quite
You try to lock
that
him
one.
in that thing. You try to lock him in that room with the suit.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was over. But then he.
And then he just got out. It was like, are you kidding?
Did you just try to lock me in this room?
Oh, that was so good. Oh, yes. So great. It's a show that keeps on giving, so go ahead and check out Daredevil Season 3. But guess what, Claudius Maximus? Do you realize with the completion of this podcast, we will now have coverage of Luke Cage Season 2, Jessica Jones Season 2, Iron Fist Season 2, and Daredevil Season 3. We have covered at least one season of every Marvel Netflix show.
That's very nice.
And that's all thanks to you guys, the fans of the Major Issues podcast. If you'd like to go back and listen to those episodes, all you have to do is subscribe to the Major Issues podcast, either by going to Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict. I mean, you can literally go to wherever podcasts are found. We're on YouTube. We are on the Apple Podcast app, which is on every single iPhone. And if you don't want to go through any of that trouble, literally type in Major Issues Podcast into the search bar, and we will be the first ones to pop right back up. And that's the quickest way for you guys to look at our entire catalog at this point. We're getting closer and closer to our year mark, our Major Issues annual show. Got some exciting things lined up for that. And you know there's going to be some big things happening in the world of CW, DC, in the world of Marvel, Netflix, in the world of movies, television, across the board. So you want to be on it, and you want to be subscribed to the Major Issues podcast, which you can find wherever podcasts are found. And then the Major Issues podcast is brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And you can find all things Comic Book Clique by going to facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram @comicbookclique, or use the hashtag comicbookclique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Don't forget that we are on Twitter @Major Issues CBC. That's Comic Book Clique. @Major Issues CBC, and you could go ahead and throw us a line there. We are all for the interaction, engaging our audience. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody who wrote in. Thank you so much for everybody who's liked, shared, and subscribed to the podcast. Oh, yeah. But if I can ask for one more favor, leave us a review on iTunes, whether it's 5 or 1 star. We want to hear from you guys to know what we can do to be better podcasters. This is a first-time run for a lot of us, but we're loving it. Honestly, I'm really loving this whole Major Issues thing. I'm really loving tearing apart these books and these series and getting other people's insights, not only hearing them, but being able to express them on air. So give me more to talk about. Tell me more about how you guys feel about these things so you can get your thoughts and views expressed here as part of the Major Issues podcast. So like, share, subscribe. Try to get those ratings out there. It's the quickest way for us to find out how we're doing. You know, how are we driving? Call 555. Yeah. You know, let us know. Let us know how we're doing. And if you want to give us a 5-star review, you can go ahead and do that, because if we get high reviews, we pop up quicker on people's podcast apps, because it tells people these guys are so great.
Yeah, we
you
all
gotta
got.
Listen, baby. You gotta listen. You gotta listen to Chuck Barrett, baby.
Ooh.
So do all those things, please. Please. I think we can go ahead and let people know what we're getting into next week, just so that they can try to drop us some comments, concerns, or anything. Next week, me and Claudius Maximus will be covering Spawn. That episode drops on Halloween, so we figure we do something scary. But if you guys, in between this episode and next, watch Spawn, let us know what you think about it. Does it hold up? We're about to find out when we watch it. Tell us what you like, good, bad, or indifferent, and you can hear your opinions expressed right here as part of Major Issues and Comic Book Clique. But my name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I am your Claudius Maximus.
And this has been a Daredevil Season Tress recap and review. And remember, whether you accidentally killed your baseball coach by throwing a ball at his head, whether you're not really dating that girl, you're just kind of stalking her from afar and eating broccoli and sausage pizzas, whether you feel like you have to repent for your sins, or you just want one of them famous subs from Nelson's Meats, remember that We are the Clique, and you, yes, you are worthy.